Well, thank you very much for those words of introduction. Thank you, Asla, for those very, very encouraging opening words as well. And wow, what an impressive kaleidoscope of accomplishments that we've seen in the backdrop to this video. In fact, it's almost what I want to say in pictures, and very, very, very impressive. Thank you so much. For those who don't know me, yes, my name is Shawn Teixeira, and I have spent well over 30 years now in various financial leadership roles in Siemens, mainly in South Africa. I was head of internal audit, and then, of course, headed later the compliance function for Africa, and joined in 2015 the team in Munich, first heading up the investigations department, and then subsequently joining Sabine Sendera in her collective action and external affairs department. And since then, and up until today, I am responsible for the management and the oversight of the Siemens Integrity Initiative. At this point, I would just like to pause and send very sincere greetings and best wishes from Sabine. You know, Sabine in many ways is the architect of this Siemens Integrity Initiative, and I know that she would have very much liked to join you today and to address you, but was kept from doing so due to very last minute and unforeseen circumstances. But the good news there is there will be a next time. And I just want to again say it's a very a big privilege for me to join this very special, important milestone moment, as it were, for TEID and for the Turkish Integrity Center of Excellence. It's significant because since TEID's founding, I think going back to 2010, if I'm not mistaken, TEID has really come of age and has matured into a reputable go-to center of reference on principles of business ethics and responsible business, and their support and guiding and training and providing of resource to an impressive membership, as Asla mentioned, that has now grown to 117 corporate members. And that's a significant representation of Turkish GDP. And the reach is phenomenal. If I would guess, close, you know, a reach on close to 500,000 employees. So it's really an honor for me to address the distinguished participants today, who represent many of these organizations gathered for this momentous occasion to virtually sign and reaffirm the renewed and revised declaration of support, of integrity in support of business transparency, and all that in the interests of transparent socio-economic development. And it's important because, you know, our journey with TEID goes back some time now. We've come a long way, I think at least over 10 years, but certainly as far as the Integrity Initiative is concerned, certainly 7 years ago in 2014, when TEID was successful in their application for funding under the second funding round of the Siemens Integrity Initiative, and where the vision at that time was to create cultural change in the Turkish private sector and to train compliance officers to effectively manage compliance and deal with integrity risks in their respective companies, and to build a sustainable capacity all through this institution, which I think was tailor-made for that purpose, the Turkish Integrity Center of Excellence. to really engage the private sector, bring them together for, as I said, a level playing field. And of course, the project implementation was impressive. And this set a solid foundation for the current third funding round project, which aims to further strengthen collective action and to build further alliances and to further enhance the skill sets and competence, but and here's the noble purpose, for longer term and more sustainable outcomes. And much has been achieved in this collective journey. But let me get to that a little later. And as I said, your video presentation in such a nice way captures just such an impressive legacy in that journey. But a little about Siemens. You know, at Siemens, we have around 300 employees all around the world, and we work with stakeholders to positively transform technology in the area of industry, infrastructure, transport, and of course, healthcare. And we committed in our approach to responsible business conduct. So it's really fitting at this moment, if I may, and please allow me to just draw on the sentiments of our Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Roland Busch, and the Managing Board Member, Judith Wieser, taken from our forward to the Siemens the Siemens Sustainability Report for 2021, where they say, and I quote, "For us, responsibility includes conscientiousness, integrity, and adherence to our values. We support that with a strong across-the-board compliance system and clear guidance for how we do business. In society as well, we're working for greater integrity and a fair market environment. With the Siemens Integrity Initiative, we're supporting organizations around the world to combat corruption," end quote. This shows, you know, in many ways a clear and recognized commitment to sustainable and responsible business practice. And with the Siemens Integrity Initiative, as many of you know, we have since committed around $120 million in 85 projects in more than 50 countries to promote fair market conditions and to join hands in the fight against corruption through collective action and education. And we do this because collective action is about just that. It's about building alliances and promoting fair competition with multiple organizations and stakeholders throughout the world, because there is a clear business case for companies to do so. To promote clean markets means successful business, and at the same time, it mitigates risk. So the Siemens Integrity Initiative has come a long way over the last decade and has built, as I said before, a kaleidoscope of experiences and learnings from our impressive network of people and institutions who we refer to as our integrity partners. And you will hear, as you heard earlier, from some of these institutions, from GEMA, the Basel Institute of Governance in Switzerland, from DION, the Ethics Institute in South Africa, and of course from SOGI, from the CBI in Nigeria. And over the last decade, we've also seen that this collective action method, so to speak, has met with international recognition amongst international and regional organizations, as well as governments and, of course, private sector representatives. And as I mentioned earlier, we do this for the benefit of society and for the well-being of the future, and because integrity makes business sense. So building on this notion of making business sense, I would like to also briefly touch on the backsleeve summary of OECD's publication, Global Lessons on Collective Action Against Corruption, the case in Morocco. And this is a product as well that comes out of our second funding round project in Morocco that was run by the OECD. And again, I quote, fighting corruption is increasingly becoming a business decision, leading companies to implement actions to strengthen business integrity. And they go on to say, this in turn has led to the emergence of collective anti-corruption action involving several companies in the same sector or field of activity, banding together to promote greater business integrity on a voluntary basis. And this type of collective action, together with and alongside with other legal, institutional, and administrative reforms, can make a significant contribution to creating a healthier business climate for greater economic development. So the resonance, this resonance around the notion of business or business decision captures, in my mind, perhaps two complementary dimensions. It makes sense for business to pursue integrity, and the pursuit of integrity makes business sense. Makes sense for business to pursue integrity, and the pursuit of integrity makes business sense. So looking through the prism of our Siemens Integrity Initiative portfolio, and we have seen this collective action method take traction in many parts of the world, like Nigeria, South Africa, Brazil, Colombia, India, Pakistan, Kenya, and the list goes on, well, reaching into well over 50 countries. And here I would encourage all of the dear participants and distinguished participants to visit our collective action website, to take a look at those annual reports that have been prepared over the last 10 years and that cover many of those significant accomplishments. And of course, for me personally, it has been such a privilege to engage with and meet with the dedicated and committed individuals, because in the end, it is really all about people, about their passion, about their commitment, about their conviction that make up this impressive, sustainable collective action network of people and institutions, and to be part of the significant contributions that have been made. And of course, TEID stands out as an amazing example and a significant contributor in this regard. And I really want to express a word of thanks and appreciation here, and through the dedicated work of the TEID team, of Baha, of Neslihan, I think even of Typhoon Zaman, and it goes back to those beginning days, those conceptual days, who I also had the privilege of touching sides with in Switzerland some years back. But just the heavy and the committed engagement and the support from the executive, Asla, in the implementation work. And we really are appreciative of the excellent contributions, accomplishments. And as I said at the outset, this is really positioned TEID as a reputable go-to center of competence and expertise. And I also think of the in-country contribution and support from our colleagues in Siemens, of the project relationship managers, Mutlu Sahin in the beginning, Ezra Otzak, and of course, more recently, Banu, who I believe is also participating in this discussion. But in the interest of time now, and in parallel to that wonderful opening video, I cannot cover a fully comprehensive list of meaningful accomplishments that this team have delivered. But let me touch on some. I think I have to. So it's really the words behind the pictures that you have seen in the video. So let me touch on the examples, just this impressive growing number of corporate members. I saw the slide that started off with somewhere around 120, and now we're at 170. And this meaningful declaration of integrity, which brings together corporate members under one unified set of common principles. And what is so important to note here is that it's not static. It's reviewed from time to time and takes cognizance of emerging topics in the public discourse, such as ESG, human rights, data privacy, which is already fleshing out this revised and renewed declaration. Just the extensive and topically diverse webinars and seminars and events like this to facilitate learning and networking and opportunities to incubate collective action initiatives, to conceive them and to grow them, and that array of focused thematic working groups to innovate and to standardize and to draw on international best practices and benchmarks, and the rich and diverse subject matter resource portfolio. And we saw some of those: the in-guide, the in-magazine, the in-blog, the in-action, the in-platform, the in-books, and the list just goes on. And of course, you know, we also need to touch on the flexibility and the adaptivity, especially the responsiveness of the team in implementing a third funding round project under the constraints of a global COVID pandemic. And the accomplishment here is without in any way materially diluting the reach and the quality of the results. But then, you know, true to the notion of building up capacity and building up networks, the establishment of several partnerships with local and sectoral and regional and professional organizations, and that very tangible recommendation and policy contribution to the relevant authority for the recognition of compliance as a profession. And of course, the voice has become louder because there's also been a substantive contribution on the international stage in the global discourse on collective action and anti-corruption through, for example, and I name only one, the B20. But I think the most important thing is the shift over the years from getting things off the ground to investing into the future. And we see a lot of that now in this third funding round project, is that focus on sustainable future-oriented results, the focus on reaching young minds and professionals and really investing into the future and looking into the future. Of course, it would be the vision and the dream to see even more private sector engagement, even more private sector contribution to collective action initiatives. And by contribution, yes, I do mean both in kind and of course financial, because in the end, it takes unified and collective effort to enable meaningful and sustainable and lasting change for a transparent and fair and level playing field. And sometimes it doesn't take much. Sometimes it's just about a vision coupled with commitment and a contribution, and it starts small and it grows incrementally over time into something big and into something meaningful. And I would like to now, in closing, if I may, just share one practical anecdote. And I go back to my opening greetings from Sabina, and Sabina remembers fondly a dinner discussion in Istanbul somewhere around 2009. And apart from the incredible Turkish hospitality and amazing Turkish cuisine, Sabina recalls how a group of private sector representatives, including Mr. Hussein Geles, the CEO of Siemens Turkey, spoke about a vision to conceive and to create something lasting and sustainable for their grandchildren and for generations to come. A vision of a transparent and a level playing field and equal opportunity for all. And out of this vision, with very, very nominal seed funding, TEID was founded. I don't know if I get the year correct, but somewhere around 2010. And as I mentioned at the outset, what do we see today? TEID has since come of age and matured into a reputable go-to national center of reference on principles of business ethics, responsible business conduct, and with an audible voice in the global discourse on anti-corruption. So dear distinguished participants, be encouraged to be part of this collective action initiative and to think beyond, to innovate new initiatives in order to promote clean markets and enable sustainable and successful business. My thanks and appreciation to the organizing team, to the participants, and for this wonderful opportunity to address you today. And I do extend my very best wishes for a successful event, a successful pledge ceremony, and a remarkable investment into the future. Thank you very much.
TEİD Etik ve İtibar Derneği, iş etiğinin Türkiye'de faaliyet gösteren tüm şirketlerin yazılı kültürünün temel taşı haline gelmesini sağlama hedefiyle 2010 yılında 11 kurucu üye ile kuruldu. 2022 yılında 170'e varan kurumsal üyeye ulaştık. Her geçen gün üyeleriyle daha da büyüyen, gelişen, sınırları aşan bir dernek olma yolunda emin adımlarla ilerledik. Kurumsal üyelerimiz derneğimize üye olurken TEİD Etik Beyannamesini imzalayarak TEİD değerlerine bağlılıklarını taahhüt ederler. TEİD Etik Beyannamesi bu bağlamda Türkiye'nin ve bölgenin en geniş çaplı sektörler arası kolektif eylemi olarak sayılmaktadır. 2016 senesinde kurulan TEİD Akademi ile Kurumsal Etik ve Uyum Yönetimi Sertifika Programı'nı hayata geçirdik. 45 saatlik bu sertifika programının geçmiş 10 döneminde 230'u aşkın mezun verdik. 2018 yılında TEİD tarafından hazırlanan Etik ve Uyum Yöneticisi Meslek Standardı, Mesleki Yeterlilik Kurumu tarafından kabul edilerek resmi gazetede yayımlandı. 50'yi aşkın eğitmen kadromuzla Türkiye'ye 200'e yaklaşan TEİD Akademi mezunu Etik ve Uyum Yöneticisi kazandırdık. Etik ve uyum konusunda içerik geliştirme odaklı çeşitli çalışma grupları kurduk. Her sene uluslararası etik zirvesi organize ederek hem yurt içinden hem de yurt dışından katılımcılara ulaştık. Ulusal ve uluslararası konuşmacıları zirvelerimize konuk ettik. Düzenlediğimiz uluslararası zirvelerle 2500 katılımcı ve 10.000 online izleyiciye ulaştık. Pandemi şartlarına rağmen hız kesmeden çalışmalarımıza çevrim içi platformlar üzerinden webinarlar düzenleyerek devam ettik ve etki alanımızı yurt içi ve yurt dışında daha da arttırdık. Sadece online ve fiziksel etkinlikler düzenlemekle yetinmedik. Yazılı, basılı ve dijital ortamlarda da kaynaklar hazırladık. Türkiye'de ilk ve tek iş etiği ana temalı 3 aylık dergi olan İN Magazin'i 3 ayda bir online ve basılı olarak yayınladık. Kurumsal üye ve paydaşlarımıza ücretsiz olarak dağıttık. Şirketlere etik ve uyum alanında günlük hayatlarında kılavuzluk edecek rehber serileri hazırladık. İş etiği, uyum, sürdürülebilirlik ve şeffaflık konularında Türkiye'ye 6 referans kitap kazandırdık. İş etiği ve uyum konularında araştırmalar ve makaleler yayınladığımız blog sayfamız Etik Blog'da düzenli içerikler paylaşıyoruz. İş dünyasının yanı sıra geleceğimiz olan gençlerle bir araya gelip ortak projeler yürütüyoruz. Mustafa Saffet Anadolu Lisesi, Aydın Doğan Güzel Sanatlar Lisesi, Özel Sezin Okulu, Özel Saint Joseph Fransız Lisesi ile etik kulüpleri kurduk, gençlere yönelik etik zirveler organize ettik. Geleceğin etik liderleri sloganıyla 2014 yılından beri genç neslin etik konusundaki farkındalığını arttırmak amacıyla üniversitelerle, liselerle ve özel okullarla çalışmalar gerçekleştirdik. Aynı zamanda üniversitelerin iş etiği derslerine misafir olarak hem etik ve uyum yöneticisi mesleğinin hem de derneğimizin tanıtımını gerçekleştiriyoruz. Kuruluşundan bugüne her geçen gün büyüyen derneğimize değerli destek ve katkılarınızdan ötürü üyelerimize, iş ortaklarımıza ve tüm paydaşlarımıza teşekkür ederiz. Etik ve İtibar Derneği 12 yıldır değerli desteklerinizle etki yaratarak büyümeye devam ediyor.